Welcome back. You're still watching KTN Sunrise live, and ever since it emerged that Kenyans across the world would also be able to vote, more and more focus has been shifting towards the diaspora, who are this 1.3 million eligible voters around the world. Well, KTN Sunrise Live has been trying to inform you as much as we can about who these people are, some of the stories, some are very keyword there, some of the people who are behind the Kenyan diaspora story. We've had a chance to bring you people from around the world, and this morning we'll do the same thing, and we're introducing to you another young Kenyan who's done for himself a very, very good thing by, setting up a radio station in the United States. It's called the East African Radio US chapter. One very interesting thing, he's also back in the country and he'll be vying for a political seat, Member of Parliament for Teso South. I'm talking about Denzel Musumba. Probably you've seen his Facebook page or his one of many websites. But welcome to show, Denzel.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Mr. James.
Before we start talking about how the contribution that's going to be made in this election cycle by the Kenyans abroad, who I must say, I realized I was with you in Washington, D.C. just a few weeks back, and I was shocked that the excitement there about the election is probably a bit more than what we have here so far. But we'll talk about that in just a while. Let's start with this. What's the typical Kenyan experience in the U.S.? Say somebody's just is relocating, probably temporarily or permanently. What are the first experiences somebody goes through? How was your experience?
Actually, I can say, it's not all about relocating. Many people leave the country and they don't have the real full-hand information on what's happening out there, what's good for them. So many people land into these visas and they're like, okay, I'm going to succeed. This is the only way to get a good life. But when they go there, there are so many challenges. That's what I can say, depending on what took you to the diaspora. For me, I've been in the US for like 30 months. And I went there for trading, but there are others who go there as students, others go there on permanent resident, maybe they want green cards, but the experience is somehow different, depending on an individual. Some students go there and at the end of the day, they even end up dropping out of school and concentrate maybe looking for a job or trying to adjust their status so that they can maybe become US permanent residents. But for some, it's, I can say, they end up succeeding, they end up completing school, maybe getting good jobs. Others come back home, they go there purposely to get the education they need and come back to their countries. But there are so many challenges. And
what are some of these challenges? Because I hear everybody talking about this. The irony, when I was talking to you guys, all of you talking about challenges. Yet when I look at the parking lot, all of you had nice cars, everybody's living in a good house. What are these challenges?
Don't see all that glitters and you think it's gold. I can say in the US, it's one of the countries that the law is actually, I can say it's working, not maybe 100%, but the law is working. And this is because they have very tough laws. There's what we call like corruption. It's not that high. You find that in the United States, you cannot get a job based on you not maybe having legal papers. That's what I'm talking about. And you find there are not only Kenyans, but thousands of millions, I can say millions of citizens from other countries who are in the United States illegally. Maybe you go there as a student, at the end of the day you drop out of school, then you're messing up your status. You go there as a tourist, and you decide just, I don't want to go back to my country. So you getting that legal paper, even a work permit, getting a driver's license, becomes a challenge. And that means you can't open a bank account, you can't transact business, you can't register any company, you can't join school. So you must just be having the right papers for you to survive in any country, for instance, in the United States.
I like what you're saying. So you're telling Kenyans, if you're going to the US as a tourist, by all means, be a tourist.
Yeah, be a tourist. Go there, do what you want, go to Hawaii, have fun, and come back to your country. Because if you say, okay, fine, I got a B1, a B2 visa, I'm going to stick around, I think it's tough. It's really tough. And in the US, anything you buy, anything you do, it's all about money. It's not like in Kenya, I can talk to Karani, I can go to Shamba and get some food, and at the end of the day, I'm good. But you just need to spend. From shelter, transportation, medical cover, everything is all about money. And you can imagine if you don't have a job.
Let's talk about culture. That's financial. You've said there are financial challenges whether you're going, for whatever reason that takes you there. But culturally, what are the differences that, for your case, what did you find shocking? Or what did you find different from what we have here in the country?
I can say, first of all, the Kenyans, for instance, the culture is so much a little bit diverse, and you come to learn a lot, though there are some things that you just can't cope up with based on maybe the African culture. But I can say the few guys I interacted, like the first time I went there in 2009, I happened to, have so many friends even from West Africa. So you end up learning this culture, but there are some things you just can't cope up with, The issue of food, that's also another big challenge. You find like you're missing something, Americans, you are there and you are taking some snacks and all that fast food. So you find like...
That's not for live TV.
Yeah, but you find yourself missing a lot, even interacting. People are busy, people have no time to just sit and talk. Everybody's busy. Even raising kids is a problem because you end up, you're meeting your wife, you just drop the kids to a daycare center, maybe a school. You go pick, maybe your wife drops, you come back, you go pick the kids. So even raising kids becomes a problem, not like in our African culture, whereby in the evening maybe you're there interacting with your kids, having dinner together. So these are some of the issues that I can say culture-wise becomes a problem if you're going there for the first time and you're not ready to learn. You just need to adjust. There's no issue whereby we find like in Africa, like in Kenya, many people say, okay, women, the kitchen is always theirs, but nobody cares about that in America, for instance. You just have to do something for your wife. You just have to prepare dinner for your family. You just have to, everything is done by both parties. Okay. And this is the culture that the citizens back in America, or maybe I can say the Americans have. Anybody can do anything.
Exactly. Let's talk about the Kenyans who are there. And what I was saying earlier on is that I was really, really surprised to find the level of excitement about the coming general elections there. It's tangible. Everybody's talking about it. I mean, people are looking forward. Some have not been able to vote for the last 20 years, 14 years, 10 years, 3 years. But all of them are really looking forward to this. Tell us about, I saw it from the, the tidbits, but Correct. You really know what's happening. What's the mood on the ground?
What I can say is, with the new constitution coming up with the provision whereby the dual citizenship issue, the diaspora voting, many Kenyans out there actually are not comfortable being in these foreign countries. People love home. I know thousands of people who always speak about, I'm going back home. Even yesterday, another Kenyan came from Saudi Arabia. Last week, another Kenyan came from New Jersey. They are here. You see, everybody wants to come back home. But the problem is the way maybe our country is being run, lack of employment. Somebody feels like, I'd rather just hustle in the diaspora. But the real excitement about elections is based on fixing the country. These people don't just talk about, I want to go back home, I want to vote, but because they want to be involved, they want to come back home and participate in building the nation. Talk about even some successful Kenyans who are running very big companies in Atlanta, somebody running a dealer shop. Hotels, you are there in Swahili Village. This is an investment that is giving a lot of, or maybe bringing in a lot of revenue. These businesses should be back home.
That's something else that I discovered, that people are saying, when they could be in the UK, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, US, and they say, I came here and discovered that, I could maximize my potential.
Correct.
I don't need to bother about bribing people. I don't need to bother about broken, systems, roads that are not working. All I needed to do was to offer my talent, my time, and my energy, and it's successful. They want, as you're saying, to come back home and share with Kenyans their experiences.
Correct.
You have been here for about a week. Oh, I don't know, 2 weeks?
Like 2 weeks now.
2 weeks. What's your feeling? Do you feel there's room for people who want to come back home and make their contribution back home?
Yeah, I can say there's room, and that's only if there will be some changes maybe in the next elections, if we come up with elect the right leaders. Talk about investment. There are so many Kenyans in the diaspora who have lost millions of dollars just because of maybe family members back home playing tricks, send money, I'm going to invest, I'm going to build this, but they end up messing up the entire investment. And these are some of the loopholes that need to be sealed, and we need to be very transparent. when you're in Kenya and you know Denzel is in America, you don't just need to call anytime and say, oh, I need $100. It's not easy to get the $100. So
You
when
have to work
Kenyans
for
in
it.
the diaspora send even a penny, even a shilling, you need to be very serious with that coin. Take care of it, put on kind of an investment or do something else because it's not easy. And that's what the Kenyans back home need to understand. They need to know that it's not easy. It's easy in Kenya to survive than even in the diaspora. So when we're talking about investment, as you said earlier, it's because the Kenyans back there, they have an opportunity. In the US, whether you have money, you don't have money, if you want to do something and you follow the law, you can still succeed. And that's why some of us went there just after like 3 months and I felt I've been in the media in Kenya, I'm missing something. Why can't I start a radio station that can bring not only Kenyans, but the entire East Africans together so that we can interact?
That's what I wanted
I
to
got
go to
that
next.
opportunity
Yeah.
because of the law.
Exactly.
It doesn't discriminate.
That's what I wanted to go to next, and it's good you've started talking about this. Your own personal story. So you pulled almost a fast. I mean, most of the people who had started radio stations there, they'd been there for years. That some of them are, permanent residents or dual citizens. You were there only 3 months, and you decided to start a radio station. How did this happen?
What I can say is I left Kenya in 2009. That was November, and I used to work in a radio station. Actually, it's now Radio Maisha.
Yeah.
I used to be in Simba morning show that when it was acquired by the Standard.
Yeah.
What I did was to go try and look for greener pastures and also do a training, trying to advance my career. I went to the US and I felt there's this disconnect. The people don't talk to each other. Getting a Kenyan who is idle just to sit and talk to, discuss Kenyan issues or even politics becomes a challenge. And the only thing I had to do was to do some research. What am I going to do to try and bring Kenyans together? America is a large country. You can travel from New Jersey, for instance, East Coast, to California. You are there. You're going to take, if it's driving, you're taking maybe 3 days
Exactly.
or 4 days. If you want to fly, it's expensive. You're talking about $1,000 round trip.
Yeah.
And also getting even to know these people becomes a problem. So I did research and I felt like the best opportunity is maybe to start with an online radio because of the technology. Internet is always there. As long as you pay the bills,
Yeah.
the internet is actually there 24/7. So what I decided to do was to come up with a company, and it's East Africa Radio USA. And this radio station is actually streaming online 24/7. And I broadcast every day from 6 p.m. That's New York time to 10. We bring topical issues whereby we get a topic and people call in. And what's unique about this radio station with the unlimited cell phone plan, like in the US, you don't need to
Simple
buy
plan,
a calling card, credit card in order to talk. So I came up with another software that allows somebody, any listener to call a number and you can listen to the radio 24/7 without you being charged anything. And you can imagine how many millions of people in the US have this.
Yeah, because I was really impressed because everybody knows about your program.
Thank you.
Almost everybody. I had a chance to go to different states, and everybody's talking about it and how it's bringing people together and so on and so forth. What do you think? Do you feel rewarded having started this?
First of all, I can say I've done a lot because right now I can tell you that I know Kenyans. Even if you go to Puerto Rico, I'll be able to tell you, James, talk to a certain Kenyan. You go to Hawaii, Haiti, there are Kenyans all over. And maybe even the Kenyan government or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs doesn't know. And that's why up to date, we're talking about 1 million, 1.5 million Kenyans in the diaspora, 3 million. There's no figure. There's nobody who has the statistics to tell us exactly this is the number of Kenyans in the diaspora. And I think once we fix the problem back home, then we will be able to sort the issue of Kenyans maybe staying in foreign countries illegally without papers. Talk about the issue of accountability and even revenue, even investment, because once you know that there's a Kenyan running a business in a certain country and he's doing his business legally, then it's easy even to transact business with that person. Yeah. Talk about last year, but one, actually that's 2010. I've done a lot of stories after watching even KTN, getting some of these stories of Kenyans in Saudi Arabia being tortured. And with the help of the radio station, we did kind of like a Harambe, and we brought some 7 ladies to bring them back to the country. But the Kenyans back here maybe don't know. Even somebody volunteers and says, I'm going to bring that lady back home and just paid $500 ticket from Saudi Arabia and back to the country. So the radio has not only brought people together, but we have interacted, we have shared ideas, we have interviewed so many politicians, talk about any candidate. Actually, I've interviewed Peter Kenneth, talk about Paranya, Raila, and we try as much as we can to do a live stream. Like, for instance, if there's any event at the embassy in Seattle, wherever, we try to go there and stream this live.
You know, Denzel, even as you talk about this, and you've said one very important thing, do people back home appreciate what's being done by Kenyans there? And do people there appreciate what Kenyans back home, how they're advancing? I was really, really surprised. I mean, you know the people I'm talking about. I walked into the office, just for the sake of the viewers, of a Kenyan works for Discovery Communications, and they were watching KTN. They were watching KTN on their laptop. So people who are out there still keep a very, very strong Kenyan identity. But do you think we appreciate, do you appreciate that enough?
What I can say about that is, first of all, the Kenyans in the diaspora, they're always at watch 24/7. Personally, I wake up it's like I don't sleep when I'm in the US. I watch KTN News, I told you last time. I follow what's going on. At times even we get the first-hand information before maybe the Kenyans back home get it because of the time difference and all that. The Kenyans back home here really appreciate what we do, and even the leaders talk about it. It's all about sending money, you know? But the question is, for us, we ask ourselves, how is the money utilized, you know? How is the money spent? We feel so bad. You're sending money, you find the report coming, oh, Kenyans in the diaspora this time around send billions of shillings. This is good investment. But how is the money utilized?